Once upon a time, the morning sun rose gently over the rooftops of Lagos, painting the sky in orange and gold. Keek nape horns blared in the distance. Women called out to their children. The smell of akara frying in hot oil drifted through the narrow streets. Life moved fast in the city as it always did. But in one big house behind a tall black gate in Surulere, life moved differently. There behind those walls, a quiet storm had been building for years, and nobody outside knew it yet. Her name was Ngozi. She had come to Lagos at 19 with nothing but a small bag, a wrapper her mother tied around her waist, and a heart full of hope. She was not educated beyond secondary school. Her father had died when she was 12, leaving her mother with 5 children and a leaking roof. So when her aunt called from Lagos saying a family needed a housemaid, Ngozi packed her bag the same night. "Go, my daughter," her mother had said, wiping tears at the motor park. "Work hard, keep your hands clean and your heart right, God is watching." Ngozi nodded and swallowed her fear. She was young, but she understood suffering. She had grown up inside it. The house in Surulere belonged to Mr. and Mrs. Ademi. Mr. Ademi was a quiet, tired man who worked long hours at a government ministry. Mrs. Ademi, Madam Titi, was something else entirely. The first day Ngozi arrived, Madam Titi looked her up and down like she was inspecting a piece of furniture. "So you are the girl from the village?" "Yes, ma," Ngozi said, eyes down. "You will wake at 5. You will clean this house from top to bottom. You will cook, wash, iron, and take care of my children. You will not use my television. You will not touch my food in the fridge. You will eat what I give you. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma." "Good, and if I catch you being lazy or stealing, I will throw you into the street and make sure no other family in Lagos takes you. Are we clear?" "Yes, ma." Ngozi kept her voice steady, but inside she quietly counted. She was 19, she had come this far, she would not cry in front of this woman. The months passed like heavy rain, slow, cold, and unending. Madam Titi was the kind of woman who woke up cruel. She would find fault in a spotless floor. She would slap Ngozi's food away if it was 1 minute late. She called her goat, useless village girl, and bush rat in front of visitors, laughing as their eyes looked away in embarrassment. Once Ngozi accidentally broke a small ceramic plate while washing dishes. Madam Titi dragged her into the parlor and beat her with a belt in front of her 2 children, Tund, who was 8, and little Simi, who was 5. Tund watched with cold eyes, learning from his mother. But Simi ran to Ngozi afterward and pressed her small hand against Ngozi's bruised arm. "I'm sorry, Auntie Ngozi," the little girl whispered. "It is okay, my baby, go and play." It was Simi's small kindness that kept Ngozi's spirit alive on the darkest nights. The neighbors saw everything. In the evening, when women gathered at the borehole, they would lower their voices. "That Titi is a wicked woman, oh. Did you hear how she shouted at the maid this morning?" The whole street heard. "That girl works like a machine and eats like a bird. God is watching. What goes around will come around, just wait." But Madam Titi heard the whispers and laughed. She bought a new car. She went to parties in a Soebai. She posted pictures on Facebook with captions like, "Blessed and thriving, God is good." She never mentioned the girl in her kitchen who made all her comfort possible. Ngozi was 23 when things began to shift. Mr. Ademi had started coming home earlier. His ministry had been restructured and his role reduced. He was quieter than ever. Some nights Ngozi would hear raised voices behind the bedroom door, Madam Titi's voice sharp like a cutlass, Mr. Ademi's voice low and defeated. "You are not man enough, you cannot provide. Look at my mates. Their husbands buy them land and cars and you bring me ministry excuses." The children would press against the wall, listening. Ngozi would hold Simi close on those nights, humming her mother's lullaby until the little girl slept. One afternoon, Mr. Ademi sat alone on the back veranda, staring at nothing. Ngozi brought him tea without being asked. He looked up, surprised. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "I know, sir, but I thought it might help." "Thank you, Ngozi." It was the first time in 4 years that anyone in that house had called her by her full name without contempt. After that day, small things changed. Mr. Ademi would greet her in the mornings. He noticed when she looked tired. He quietly increased her monthly salary without telling his wife. Once, he left a small envelope on the kitchen counter with a note, "For your mother." Ngozi held that envelope to her chest for a long time. Madam Titi noticed. Women like Titi had a special eye for things they feared. She began to watch Ngozi differently, not with contempt, with suspicion. She started timing her husband's movements. She checked his phone. she questioned the children. Did Ngozi talk to your father today? What did they say? Little Simi shook her head honestly. Tund, who had learned his mother's nature, whispered something in her ear, something small, something exaggerated. The seed of poison was planted. One evening, Madam Titi returned home early from a party. She found her husband and Ngozi in the kitchen. He was showing her a letter from her younger brother's school, helping her understand the enrollment form. Nothing more, nothing less. But Titi's eyes saw what her fear wanted them to see. She grabbed Ngozi by the hair. So this is what you do when I am not here, you useless rat, you village snake, you want to take my husband. Madam, please, it is not what. The slap came before Ngozi could finish. Then another, Mr. Ademi shouted. The children screamed. Neighbors gathered outside the gate at the sound of the commotion. That night, Madam Titi threw Ngozi's bag into the street. Get out of my house and never come back. If I see you near my husband again, I will finish you. Ngozi stood in the dark street, her face swollen, her bag at her feet. The gate slammed behind her. She did not cry immediately. She just stood there looking at the sky, breathing slowly. Then she picked up her bag, walked to the roadside and sat down. A woman selling ground nuts nearby had watched everything from her stall. She came over quietly and pressed 100 naira into Ngozi's hand. Take, eat something tonight, God is not sleeping. Ngozi was taken in by a kind elderly woman in the next street, Mama Comfort, who had no children of her own and a generous heart. She gave Ngozi a room and asked for nothing in return. Rest, my daughter, tomorrow is another morning. With Mama Comfort's support, Ngozi enrolled in an evening vocational program, catering and hospitality management. She studied with the hunger of someone who had been told she was nothing. She practiced recipes late into the night. She woke before dawn and cooked small pots of food that Mama Comfort helped her sell at the motor park. Word spread quickly. That girl's food, get as be. People came back. They brought friends. Ngozi saved every naira with the discipline she had learned from years of having nothing. 2 years later, she registered a small catering business. She called it Ngozi's Table. She was 25. Meanwhile, in the Ademi house, the walls were cracking. After throwing out Ngozi, Madam Titi hired 2 other maids. Both quit within 3 months. The house became dirty. The children grew restless. Mr. Ademi grew distant. Then one day, a government audit revealed financial irregularities in the ministry where Ademi worked. He was not guilty, but the scandal tainted his name. He lost his position. Income stopped. Titi's lifestyle, the parties, the soa by the Facebook posts, quietly died. She sold the second car, then the first. She quarreled with her sisters who had once cheered her on. One by one, the people who had celebrated her pulled away when there was nothing left to celebrate. Tund began running with bad boys in the neighborhood. Simi, now 11, grew quiet and withdrawn. The neighbors who had once watched in silence began to speak openly. Nah, so it goes, you cannot treat people like animals and expect God to ignore. That woman scattered her own home with her own hands. It was a Saturday morning when Madam Titi passed the new catering hall on Bode Thomas Street. A banner stretched across the entrance, bold and bright. Ngozi Ice Table Grand Opening, Premium Catering and Event Services. A crowd gathered at the door, photographers, well-dressed guests, catering staff in matching uniforms moving efficiently inside. And there in the center of it all stood Ngozi. She wore a deep green dress that touched the floor, her hair was pinned neatly, her face was calm and glowing. She laughed with guests and directed her staff with quiet authority. She was Madam now. Titi stood outside the gate, mouth open, handbag hanging from her arm. One of the guests near the entrance recognized her. Ah, Madam Titi, long time. Are you here for the opening? Come in, this is Ngozi's place. You remember Ngozi, Abai? Titi's legs would not move. Inside, Ngozi saw her, their eyes met. The crowd moved between them, cameras flashed, music played, life continued all around them, loud, full, joyful. Ngozi did not look away with shame, she did not look away with anger. She simply held Titi's gaze for one quiet moment, the kind of look that says, I remember, and I forgave, and I moved on. Then she smiled, turned back to her guests, and continued her celebration. Titi walked home alone that afternoon. The street felt longer than she remembered, her shoes felt heavier. The gate of her house, which had once felt like power, now felt like a cage she had built for herself. Simi found her mother sitting in the dark that evening. Mama, are you okay? Titi looked at her daughter, this small girl who had once pressed her hand against a maid's bruised arm, and said, "I'm sorry." "Simi," she said quietly, "do you remember Auntie Ngozi?" "Yes, Mama, she was kind to me. She was kind to all of us, and I did not deserve it." It was the first honest thing Madam Titi had said in years. Audience question. If you were Ngozi standing at the door of everything you built and your oppressor walked past, what would you do?